time podcast, or you've been on podcast before?
First time, I guess. Yeah, first time.
First time. It's always good for the first time, like never too late. Turn it on again. So where you've been the last time? The podcast?
It was one of these IT newspaper blah 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 guys there who also ran a podcast. I have to admit, it was already on evoila times, but I don't know anymore what was the topic. I have to admit, it's quite some time ago. I'm not an experienced podcaster.
Don't worry about it. Like nobody is. That's why everybody likes podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody's experienced in that. When we met first time? 5 years ago? 4 years ago? I think like 5 years ago.
Before, because five years actually. I started with evoila, so it's around about 5 years ago that I started.
Yeah. 4 years. 4 years, and how much we have? We are right now 11 countries, 12.
7? We are currently in Europe. In Europe, we are 11 countries, which we have. Then we are working with on one additional country in Europe. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 additional companies outside Europe, and 2 more where we are working on currently. So actually running in 15 countries plus 3 which are on the plate.
All right. Hey guys, this is evoilutioncast 49. It's already a couple of them we made. My name is Maciej Klelusz. Today with me, Jurgen Horak. He's responsible for internationalization, let's say, for in evoila group, plus right now co-country manager of Austria, right? What we want to talk today, because there was some questions on the market, like where we're going, what the group is planning. I think is the best person to do that introduction here. And we start with this conversation about 11 countries, but I think we should postpone it a little bit and start first from the business that actually make it even more interesting, because we do a lot of business with CSP partners, so basically cloud providers around the world. Right now, we can say not only Europe but world. And from what this business come from, like what's happening right now, why it's such an interesting subject for many out there?
Well, actually, we used to work for many years with big cloud providers, but mainly from a consulting point of view. And some few years ago, our core partner, VMware by Broadcom, changed a little bit the strategy there, and changed the program, which got us into the position that we applied, becoming one of the white label partners in helping smaller cloud providers being able to run their cloud infrastructure across Europe. So that was mainly a European business we have driven there. Recently, there were some new announcements on that program that changed the program at the end of the period. I have to say again. On contrary, what many people saying they cancel the program, it's less canceling it. The old program runs out, and the program is not going to be renewed on the existing terms. So the new terms basically changed in a way that Broadcom really likes to make sure that there are cloud providers out on the market which are really providing cloud solutions. And when we're talking about cloud solutions, it needs to have the right stack in place, which is Broadcom's VCF stack, and that is the main thing around. So there are some changes now in that program, which we are going to take care and have also provided and put an offering in place, helping our partners, but also others staying in that program and staying with that stack. And this became now from a predominantly European solution what we are offering more and more now, and a true global solution and a true global offering what we have in place.
I think it's super interesting because it's like leveling the quality of service around other cloud providers. Like a VCF stack, it's basically one-stop shop for your private cloud, right? And then you can have it around the world in the company where you used to have for many years the same quality like you will have in your own data center, right? And the thing what is changing right now is basically, like you said, program is running out, and there is a option to go beyond that with evoila. And how what is the proposition here?
What Broadcom is saying, they see as the real competitor for these cloud solutions, the big hyperscalers. So there's a lot of discussion currently around sovereignty, having cloud solutions really on the ground, especially in Europe or in the European Union, being independent from the big hyperscalers like Google, like AWS, like Microsoft. And what they're saying is, if you like to compete with them, which is anyway very difficult, yeah, because you cannot basically cope and catch up basically what they have developed in the last 20 years with billions of dollars they put into that. But if you'd like to provide something similar, you need to have a proper stack in place, which is VCF. So that's number one. If you like to be in that program there, you need to have this. Number two, what they're saying is, Broadcom can support that competition only if they focus on some few ones. If they, that's going there and putting a little bit of water onto everyone is not letting them grow big. So they're saying we like to focus on some few of them we are working with to grow them really into becoming a real competitor on the local markets with the sovereign cloud setups there on that. Yeah, which, in our opinion, from an evoila perspective, is understandable, but we also believe that is a bit a challenge, especially in Europe, because we believe that European is what we call a hyper-local market. So it's a lot of SMB business, and it's not about that we have 3 cloud providers in Europe. It's also not about, and I'm an Austrian guy, it's not about that we have 1 cloud provider in Austria. It's more about having 1 in Vienna, 1 in Graz, 1 in Innsbruck. And that is basically how the European market works. And this is something we started developing our solution around and saying, being compliant on the one hand side with the Broadcom new terms of the program, but also taking into consideration that we do have that hyper-local approach, being very close to these SMB customers in Europe. And that is something what we were able to put together in making sure that VCF is implemented and maintained and lifecycled properly. So that is something what we are taking care. What we also need to take care is we need to take care about the asset ownership from a compute hardware point of view, because that's one thing how Broadcom defines that this is a service provider in their terms from their partnership point of view, where we have now with the big vendors contracts in place which allow us to offer very competitive compute hardware to our partners. And we need to have a certain, we still provide the licenses like we did on the white labeling before as well, but we also need to provide then this wraparound with some managed services together with the customer to comply to the Broadcom terms in life cycling the VCF stack there. With that, we try to set up and standardized, automated European, if not global VCF network of smaller providers, which then can really become a true local sovereign competition then towards the big hyperscalers.
I think it's super important what you said, that it's not directly asked to the SMBs, but our approach here is to go to the partners that existed over those many years at those markets, that they know the customer, they know their needs, and support them to deliver the unified, let's say, virtualization or infrastructure level across their localizations. And so it's not like we want to enter into the picture take out all the services from partners. No, it's like support you guys with the infrastructure level, and you sustain your relationship with an end customer. What is, and I fully agree here about the hyperlocal approach. We used to make this relationship business in Europe. So if you have a subcontractor that you work over the years and they bring you infrastructure locally, you want to stay with them if this cooperation is successful for the next years. So we basically support those partners of yours. If you are an end customer, if you are this partner, we support you with a local hardware and software stack. Plus, I think there is additionally some services attached, right, to it.
Exactly. We also try to keep that to a minimum because we also acknowledge and understand that is part of their value proposition. Also, what is important to mention, the only requirement is that we own and be asset owner of the compute hardware. So if you have a 3-tier architecture and you have your Cisco switches and your NetApp storage, whatever, that's still yours. It's your data center, it's your cooling, it's your rack, it's whatever on that, your cabling. We're not going to provide something on that. And also from a service point of view, there are some things we need to do because Broadcom really likes to ensure that there is an best practice standardized VCF stack deployed and maintained and life-cycled properly on that. And that is something we need to undersign there towards Broadcom that we are going to take care for that. But still, we do have, meanwhile, a good service split definition in place where we're saying what is still in your responsibility, what you are able to do, what we are doing. And that's maybe also important to say we have some different flavors of the product we are offering there. The product we are calling VCF as a service for the hyperlocal market. And depending on the product flavor you choose for it, there's also a bit of difference in what is done by the customers and what by the service providers and what's done by us. So giving you an example, we have 2 product versions. One is called Dedicated Plus and one is called Dedicated Premium. So Plus is more for the smaller ones where we are putting a VCF stack into their data center, including the management domain. But the fleet management, which is quite overhead intensive, is something we are going to provide centrally. So they save some of the overhead costs, what they would normally have to implement VCF there. With a dedicated premium, you're having really the full stack then in your data center.
This is the point, right? So in any stage of development, your infrastructure is, we can have solution for that in terms of VCF, right? Because for many customers, smaller size, especially Central Europe, potentially maybe other localizations as well, the overhead of VCF would be a challenge, right? And here they can go for locally stored workload domains or locally stored everything. It depends where they are in their development, right? But from the perspective of end customer, the consumption of the service is basically the same at any of those partners, right? Because you have VCF on that side. And that's the one part, right? So this is like more technological part, how we want to solve it, how we want to cooperate with the partners. But there is as well the consumption side of it. So what we see, at least in Polish market, is like growing the VCF footprint. So there is a standard edition, there is enterprise, VVF, and VCF, right? And the customers start to seeing the value of the product, right? So they have more and more VCF. I think what is super important here is to underline that you get the same stack, basically. So if you have procedures working in your own data center and you want to not refactor, put very sophisticated change towards your infrastructure and move it to your partner, for example, you work for many years, right? You will get the same experience. And before that, I remember we met. That was the beginning of our conversation. We met this 4 years ago, right? So back in the days in Leo, we were offering to cloud providers to build unified stack. So we built for cloud providers services towards the end customer. And I met with you because we get a conversation about the the cloud provider offering. So right now it's more like everybody will have it in 1.5 years, or they need to change the platform, right? Because the same amount of user experience needs to be delivered through every cloud provider, and hopefully, if you're a cloud provider, you will choose us, right? That's the whole point, because you get entire stack. Should I mention something additionally? Do you think that we missing
I think
something here?
that was a very good point. So a lot of cloud providers got now this letter from Broadcom. I think it was beginning of last week that the program is going to end. So the number of providers which are still in the program, which is moved from a 3-tier program. So there was before Pinnacle, Premier, and Registered, is going to be changed to a single-tier program, and it will be only Pinnacle. And all the others, they literally have to make that choice now. So either they are going into a program like we are offering with our VCF as a service, continuing with one of the best private cloud stacks around VCF, with maybe the initially perceived drawback of the program requirements I mentioned before, or the alternative is moving into something different, building a complete new stack, building on whatever technologies, open source, whatever. The big question then is that something everybody is able to do and willing to do? And that's the reason why we said we need to provide something to our customers, to our existing customers, and also to the market, to be able to continue with this stake, because we strongly believe that's the best stake you can have in place to build your cloud solution on.
Right now we have, when we started this journey with a white label, we had 140 customers, right? The big scale service provider.
I have to admit, I don't know
changing,
it by
right?
heart. I would have said 160.
160,
It is the number,
right? 160-ish customers. So why are you talking about it? It's the thing is, guys, that and some of customers for sure listening us right now, it's the solution after the program termination is in place, right? So if you don't know what to do, just contact us. For sure, we'll drop some link in the description, because there is solution. So it's not to be hard ride for you or bumpy ride, right? We can go for it. You can start from even day one, from tomorrow, cooperate with us, even if you didn't cooperate back in the days. So that's the whole point. The entire journey is here. So there is no need to make this fundamentally risky decisions, because migration is always a risky decision. Here we're talking about from, like, say, traditional VMware stack towards VCF. So it's not replatforming, right? It's just moving VMs, maybe some firewalls, rules. Not that risky when we're changing a platform, right, to other platform. And we have solution right now. If you're a white label partner,
done something like this already plenty of times. So it's not that
exactly.
we invented something new. So the process in getting somebody from a vSphere-based solution into a VCF solution is something what we are doing continuously currently, also with our standard enterprise and corporate and commercial customers. So that is something which is very much to our core of our daily business.
And over the last, let's say, I can say like 10 years, we designing cloud-based vCloud directors. If you have vCloud director and moving out from there to VCF, we know it as well. Many NSX V2T projects back in the days, I'm pretty sure that our specialists are able to do it. But the thing is here, why I'm saying that, it's like, even if the change is happening, we're coming to you guys with some solution in regards that for example, you can move right now to us. You can as well operate like you operate till the end of your contract, with some, of course, drawbacks, right? Like what is the main things here? Like what you cannot do if your contract is terminated, allegedly. Do we have this information? Like your contract, you are the cloud provider, right? And your information get that program is ending. What you cannot do, you cannot onboard new customers, right? Something like this, or
I mean, There are some changes to the current program. So one thing is the option of overage has been removed. Yeah, so when you had the possibility before, if you put an additional host into your infrastructure, you were able to use it there for 2 weeks and then take it out, and you were basically charged on the hour. That option has been removed. And another thing, what had happened is there's a minimum order volume now in place of 500 VCF cores for the current program, which had been put in place. And there's also the topic that they are saying on the new program, you're not allowed to add additional new customers there, which is most probably the more difficult one to recognize on it. But the others are definitely affected there, which I also like to add to our existing customers. What we have on evoila, that would not be of any impact because we do have meanwhile around about 90,000 cores on our white label partner. So we always have these 500 cores minimum increase. So at the end of the day, we provide to our customers that they are able to upgrade whatever they want. And we also do still provide overage on that one because we are hedging that ourselves. So from that perspective, there's, for our customers, literally no real impact on that one. But yes, you're right.
That's my point.
Existing program.
And that's my point, right? So if you facing that issues and if they are going to impact you, you can move to us with your contract. Maybe not from tomorrow, but let's say from the full cycle of month, right? And this will be covered by just moving the contracts towards us. So you will be able to grow, you will be able to onboard new customers and just grow your business as it was, right? And then prepare for the, let's say, the new program that is in place, which means that you will get entire infrastructure from evoila, right? Hardware and software and some bit of services to sustain that later. So we have still, for most of the customers, what we have 11 months, 12 months?
No, it's basically the new term starts then on 1st of April and then it's 12 months. So there's still some left. And I don't like it to correct you, Maciek, but I have to. So
sure.
It is a pretty easy move if one of the premier partner, maybe they're having their own white label customers and partners, then they're moving a premier partner is very easy because that premier partner has a contract.
That's what I meant.
Broadcom is allowing to terminate that contract and let them move, for example, to evoila. That is easy possible. If you're a registered partner with another premier partner, obviously you are having a contract you're having the contract with the premier partner. So if the premier partner is saying, nope, I don't let you, then it's let's have a discussion. So still possible to reach out to us. It's not that easy then to move over, but maybe it's then an option to do an earlier move into our, we call it VCSP 2.0 program. So the VCF as a service. There are options, but the easy one is really for registered partners if they do have an issue with exactly those things, and that can become even more complicated because if they have in the contract that their partners, for example, can increase the number of cores how they want, and they could increase, for example, for 32 cores, but on the back end they need to commit to Broadcom always 500. That can become quite a financial disaster in the last 12 to 13 months there. So if you have something like this, then it perfectly makes sense to get into discussion how to help them to run on that. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thing is, like, we giving you a paths, right, in this journey. Let's talk about it. Let's talk with your partners as well, because in the end, the most important is to sustain your operational, your business model. Taking this platform, the VCF platform, as a foundation of it, right? And so it's not like take it or leave it, right? We have different paths to go. Let's have conversation about it. But this leads me to interesting conversation, the second part of it, which means about the internationalization. So we coming back again to a little bit of beginning of our conversation. So we have 11 countries, right? We have business running in Europe. Pretty, we are a major player here in Europe. Do this CSP movement enable us to do some other moves across other geographics as well?
I would not say that CSP by default is enabling us to that. So that there are there are a number of different changes in the market which are enabling us to move into new markets. What is especially around the CSP, we recently announced that we are going to join forces and take over in CSP in South Africa. Our friends from Rooted are already working with us very intense on developing and fine-tuning our VCS as a service product there, and they are going to bring it to the African market from South Africa. So that is something which is mainly and only and solely because of VCSP. But some might have recognized that we also recently moved into the US. I would not call that a move which is done because of VCSP. That is more on, it's a very big market. It's the home market of our main partner, Broadcom there, and was always somehow close to our heart to get successful also on the US market. And the other one where we are investing heavily is also in the Middle East. Dubai already started, Saudi Arabia, something we are looking into. I mean, India is not now Middle East, but close to that one. This is also something where we have started up evoila recently. But this, again, more from this remote delivery setup, because we also strongly believe that beside having superb on-the-ground services to our customers, it becomes more and more important on the large scale we are operating, that we have really superb remote delivery capabilities, which we extended beyond what we have in place already in Bosnia and in Croatia and in Bulgaria. We're having now also in Egypt and in India set up there. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's super important to put it in the picture, right? Because delivering to CSP, like selling license, selling hardware, without the part of services, it's not working solution in the end. That's why I think we should underline that right now we have more than 500 people who are specialists in the, let's say, VMware-ish or plus storage hardware and wherever it's there in data center solutions. Plus, on top of that, we are building a very strong foundation of the delivery additionally and service of that. Because like I said, when you're running a cloud, you need to have a strong partner who can support you with any cases you will get, technical cases, both hardware and software, right? And VCF is a complex stack, giving you a lot of opportunities, but it needs a lot of specialists with different, dimensions. Some of them from the network, some of them from storage to support you in that. And I think that the building of those entities and talents behind that, it's something interesting to mention that's make us different a little bit from any others on the market.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, especially in Leo has a strong history also on the vCloud Director, and vCloud Director is always something about automation and special use cases. I mean, there are the standard use cases, but the more you're getting into being a real cloud provider, providing then consumption-based mechanisms, self-service, whatever on that, automation becomes more and more crucial. And having then, these are also not the skills you need to have then locally on the ground. So you need to have your architects in Poland who are able to talk to the customer, to specify what is necessary, to overlook a project and all these things. But the automation workflow at the end of the day can easily be done then in Bulgaria by our specified and highly skilled teams there, which are having all the assets available also and using, reusing, testing, whatever in place there.
I think that's the one thing. But another thing which is important here, it's like we as evoila, as a group, we can deliver from different languages, back of the cultural part, all the things that you can find on the market. So what we see right now at the service providers are they growing, they expanding beyond the geography. So for example, we have customers who have data center in Poland plus data center in, let's say, Germany, right? To just be sure that the disaster recovery solution works pretty well across the geographics. I think that what is worth to mention here, wherever probably you will open the data center soon, they're going to be evoila in that country with a local team, plus people on the back who are really good technicians who can connect to you remotely. And that's the differentiator. Because when you look at those companies around, at least in Polish market, they are very local. So, which is super good, but only when you run business in one country. And here's a little differentiator, what I see. Do you have anything else to add to that? Like what is your envision here in regards of this market of CSP going, these countries that we ramping up as well from the service perspective, as well from the CSP perspective?
My vision on that actually would be really being able to build something like, let's say, a fluent network of cloud providers, all running on the same stack, providing something none of the hyperscalers will be able to do on that scale, because they are opening now different data centers in different countries. But it is in Austria one Microsoft, maybe one AWS data center, but it's not having that in every single county of Austria, multiple setups there. And that's maybe a little bit too much on that. But if you ask me for my vision, then I'm seeing a European network of different cloud providers working together, and there is then maybe not the necessity in saying, I'm going to build as a Polish company my own data center then in Germany, because I have some friends in Germany which having exactly the same stack. I'm having a partner agreement with them, and I'm able to offer my customers in Germany, in Sicily, in Catania, wherever, then my same services like they are used from Poland. If we are able to foster that, if we are able to support that, that brings us then into a completely different position also from this European sovereignty discussion on that. Are we able to build exactly the same services like the hyperscalers are building right now on top of their solutions? No, that will not be the case. But we can provide infrastructure as a service. We can provide Kubernetes as a service. We can provide databases as a service. All has been done already. We are experiencing building things like this. Maybe we are setting up jointly then a centralized AI cluster on that, providing some LLM as a service there. So if you ask me for visions, then there are a lot of ideas which are popping then into my mind on that. Yeah.
Okay. Jurgen, thank you very much. Thank you for the time that you spent. And guys, thanks for listening. This was evoilutioncast number 49. And I hope we will see and hear each other very soon. Thanks.
Thank you.